Hi, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm Suzanne Lynn. And today we're going to be speaking with author Will Sharon. He wrote the book Dreaming in the 21st Century, an Ancient Experience in a New Context. Will, welcome. I'm glad that you're here.
Thanks so much for having me, Suzanne. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, we kind of got talking about your book, and as soon as I heard it was about dreams, I'm like, Will, I got to share with you a dream I had. And it was just so cool. We spent so much time just unfolding. And the fact is dreams really mean something, right? They're a very natural experience and something that we should listen to.
Yeah, I think, one of the best ways to understand it is it's half of a conversation, and it's the half of the conversation that doesn't occur in your head. In other words, you're not figuring anything out. It's not cognitive. It's much more from, for lack of a better term, emotional perspective. And this part of yourself that puts these stories together is aware of your ego and your identity, but not that interested in it. It's really designed to help you step into the next larger version of who you are. So yeah, they are meaningful and important.
Well, that was a good tease. All right, let's start with what's your history? How did you come to diagnosing dreams, and how did all this come about?
Well, I've had a lot of career changes, so we'll keep it brief. I started out and worked for 13 years in psychiatric hospitals. The last 6, I was a therapist at the Veterans Administration, then an actor, a law school student, and I had a 25-year corporate career. And came back sort of full circle, but came in through a different door. It's sort of the coaching door, which is a fairly new phenomenon, about 25 years old. And it changed the way I thought about dreams. So dreaming has been, a thread through everything that I've done in my life. I've always sort of paid attention to them. I can't say I've always understood my own dreams, because that's tough to do. But I've always been curious about this thing that we do, that we all do, and why do we do it?
What is your book about? I mean, specifically.
It's about thinking about dreaming in a way that's more accessible. So as you said in the beginning, I'm trying to get people to see this as an ordinary experience. One of the things that's happened in the last 100 years, and this is not a knock on therapy. I was a therapist. I was been in therapy, right?
Right.
It's useful. But we've fractured up our psyche. We think there's something called an unconscious and a subconscious, and we're not really sure what the difference is. But they're certainly less accessible if we think of it in that way. So what I'm trying to do is kind of clear away some of the language that we've developed over time, and basically say to people, this is an experience like any other experience you have. And you can query it and understand it in the same way you do a great conversation with a friend over a cup of coffee. It's the same thing.
Yeah, but I remember those. I don't always remember my dreams.
Well, it's very interesting, because I had this conversation again yesterday. I have it all the time. People say, I'm really interested, but I can't remember my dreams. So I always say, make an appointment. And I don't charge for a consultation. So it's not. What happens? All of a sudden, this part of you, it's the same thing as happened with us, right? We set up a call and you brought this dream. Why? Because I'm an audience for that. I'm you're going to show up to talk to this guy who thinks about dreams. So that aspect of you that dreams goes, oh, cool. Now we got somebody who will listen to this.
Right.
And that's really all it is that in our daily lives, we don't have an audience for our dream world. You got stuff to do. You got to get to work. You got to make breakfast. It's like there's no audience. As soon as you create an audience, your dreamer steps forward.
Really?
Yeah.
So in your book, what are some practical things we learn? Do we learn how important dreams are and that we should listen to them? Or, what is it that we're going to take away from the book?
Well, there's a number of chapters at the end. It's broken into thirds. And basically, what I talk about, I'll give you an example. This woman called me up. She was a referral. And the first words out of her mouth was, I want you to help me find the one. And I thought for a minute, and I said, I can't do that. I can help you be the one. Right. Which got her interest. So basically, what I'm trying to say to people is, look, you have this thing in you that is what you are supposed to do in this lifetime. And you have this other thing in you that has figured out what you think you're supposed to do. And there's a conversation to be had between those two elements. It all exists in you. It's right there. And sometimes the reason people don't want to pay attention to their dreams is because their dreams are telling them, what you're doing is not really aligned with who you are,
Wow.
So that's what happens. And it people bring what they think the problem is or the issue is, and it's real. But oftentimes we go down a different road because they discover, oh, wait a minute, before I get to that, I really need to deal with this other thing.
Right.
And that's the conversation that and my job, just so we're very clear, I don't interpret dreams.
Okay.
Because that means I'm going to tell you what your experience means.
Right.
I'm not quite that arrogant. So, so what I do is I help somebody animate a dream, fill out the story, get them to be aware of all the emotional parts of the dream. And lo and behold, things come up. There's what they call aha moments. People go, oh, yeah, okay. And that's how we sort of progress the thing along,
So it's really not, from what I'm hearing, if I'm hearing you right, and see, that was my therapy coming back now. If I hear you correctly,
right.
It's not that it's something subconscious. It's something, a conversation that we need to have that is very much a part of who we are.
Yeah, and I think the thing that is a challenge is that half of that conversation is in a different language, right?
Oh,
it's
wow.
this fantastical story. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, what, and you can't really understand that half of the conversation until you explore until you explore the story. And if you think about it, dreams, we were dreaming long before we created myths or wrote poetry or books or anything, right? It's the template for literature. It's a story, beginning, middle, end, characters, emotions, all that kind of stuff, right? So it's a very natural part of our experience. It's the storytelling that we do. And this is just a story you're telling yourself.
One of the things that really stood out to me when I was asking about you to help me with my dream is that you had me point out the colors that were important, the shapes that were important. Who did I associate that with?
Yeah.
You were asking me, why would you dream about that? Why is that significant? So, I mean, I imagine in your book, while you're not helping to decipher the dreams, you're making us pull it out ourselves, right?
Yeah, it's very interesting because, and everybody knows there are books you can buy that are going to tell you, what red means or purple
Right.
or orange or whatever, right? And that's basically you're giving up your sovereignty. You're giving your story to a book, right? So it is important, like, what do those things mean to you? And they can mean something completely different than what, 90 other people would think. A color or a symbol would be. The other thing that I think is always important is, why are you having this dream now? Like now, okay? Because we need to ground the dream in our reality. The purpose of working with a dream is not to just connect to some ethereal, mystical aspect of who we are. Right. No, we're on the planet, the ice caps are melting, whatever. There's stuff to do.
Right.
So the dream is really sort of informing you as where you are now. And one other thing I'll say, and interestingly enough, this was not the kind of dream that you brought, but lots of times people will bring dreams that are really showing them a way that they're organizing their experience with the implicit question, is this what you want? Because you don't dream about that unless you're willing to let it go, right? So you may see yourself as unworthy or whatever, right? And that the dream will show you that. And you're dreaming about it because guess what? You're not unworthy, and you're beginning to become aware of that. And so this part of you is saying, yeah, and look at how you insist on organizing all that experience around this idea that is long past, right? So that's a good deal of the work that I do. Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, I feel like we just started scratching the surface, but we got to wrap up here. Dreaming in the 21st Century, an Ancient Experience in a New Context. Will Sharon, thank you so much for joining us. And the book is available where?
On Amazon.
Good enough. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you.